Hello, beautiful tribe. So I wanted to make this video, and the lighting's a bit funny, but let's flow with it. I'm actually noticing there's some cool shadows in that corner because of the mirror. And the title for this video is When You Devote to Loving Yourself, You Become More Available to Give Love and to feel like you're impacting people around you. And I made a video earlier this year when I was living in Mexico about service and this tricky trap of service, and how a lot of us, and I know myself, I definitely was in that for a while too. It's like service kind of became an outsourcing of my own deep embodiment of just embracing who I came to be on this planet as my service. Service that's focused towards helping, serving, fixing, healing another actually isn't really service at all. Now, of course, that's a wide statement. We all have our own truths. That's something I've been seeking and exploring with, so resonate if you will. And I feel like this is another piece to that. So how to know when you're in service from a deeply truthful place? I would say the first question is, how loving to yourself are you being? How being in love are you? How much of love are you letting yourself receive into your space? How much are you feeding that to yourself? And I know I can see this a lot perhaps in my culture growing up, in my family, and the woman in my family. There wasn't a lot of self-love. A lot of the giving was already from a place of emptiness. And the only thing that really made them feel, from my perspective, that they were being full is if they impacted another. So yes, there's a beauty to that, feeling full because you're supporting another and you're needed, but there's also a trap to that where it has more of a taking nature, right? It's like, well, because I feel full, if I can give to you, if you don't need me to give to you, then I don't feel good with you. And that's something that I've had to go through a really big healing and deeper discovery journey within myself, as I've noticed over the path of my life, as I've just deepened in my discovery and learning, seeing how, everyone has their own position and place of growth with this needing to be needed, and how does another respond to your embodied self-love and committing to that journey anyways. That's not what I came to say in this video. Apparently that wanted to be shared. When you prioritize your self-love, you then allow yourself to be so much more available to give love. Now, I'm going to use a direct example, as I love to do, from my morning practice. So I was sitting at my altar, which you're actually at right now, and I was doing some breathing practices. I was doing heart breathing. I was moving the electromagnetics of my heart. I was just really feeding myself with my own love and connection and giving myself a big hug. And I had my cacao, and I started painting my face with my cacao and just letting my little child enjoy herself. And then I get a message from one of my closest girlfriends, and she said, hey, I'm going to be in the bath, but if you'd like to catch up, I'd love to connect. So I said, oh yeah. And I felt so full, right? So I go into this conversation with her. It never feels like a conversation. It feels like a magic carpet ride with the places I go to with my closest brothers and sisters. Is pretty magical. So we're in this space together, and we really dropped into, and easily, effortlessly, this shared space holding, this shared listening and witnessing and receiving of deep heart truths and struggles and learnings and fears and boundaries that we have both just recently laid in our lives. And there was so much heart pouring through, and it was so easy and so natural for me to want to just give of my juice in that space. And I know that a huge part of that is because I had fully filled myself up right before getting on that. And I don't believe it's by any chance that she sent me a message. It's like, are you filling yourself up with your own love? Or are you outsourcing your love onto the people around you? Now, this has been, I think I can honestly say this has been one of the biggest lessons of my life, is not relying on external sources in form of people, places, things, to know my own value and my own worthiness as I am. I was one of my deepest childhood wounds in many ways, in like the loss of very, very close family figures, and also bullying and trauma within the family and all sorts of things, it was like, I'm not worthy. It's not safe. And that's been such a big part, I didn't even really consciously know it, but of my trajectory and the deep path of seeking I've been on over the past 10 years. And it really, for me, comes down to that. It's like when I am filling myself up with my love, when I'm turning my heart on, when I'm being fully present for myself and taking as much space and time as I need to do that, the opportunities and situations will then come forth to me, and then I can discern with my heart resonance, is that right? And it's a heart knowing, right? It doesn't have to be up here. What's my path, and should I engage with that person, or should I rekindle that flame? Or should I this, or should I stop this, or should I start this? It's like the heart just knows. Oh, I have chills as I'm saying this. She knows, and she'll actually start to speak. You could call it a he as well. Clearly it's a she for me right now. She knows, and she'll speak in tingles, and she'll speak in closing, and she'll speak in softening. However, I don't believe, and I haven't experienced, that we can get to that level of heart clarity, of living a heart-led life, I like to call it, without making it like a devotional practice to fill your own cup, to know what it's like. What does your love taste like? What does your heart taste like? Right? And we can seek it from like, oh, that kind of person, or that kind of job, or that kind of thing, or that kind of style, or that kind. And there's nothing wrong with that. We live in this existence, right, to experience the goodness and the richness and to taste it all. But what does your heart taste like? What does your love taste like? Mine would be like a warm chai. I'm having a chai. So I drink a lot of liquids in the morning, hot liquids, most of the first half of the day. And like a chai. Not caffeinated, not a black tea chai, like a elixir chai with like mangosteen and hoshi wu and cinnamon and lucuma and adaptogens and like warm flax milk and maybe a pinch of cayenne. It's like, what does your love taste like? Because until you know the taste of your own love, I feel like, and I've seen this in myself, it can send us on this perpetual seeking for all of it outside of us. And then we think we found a situation where we want to give, right? But then we end up getting drained because we're not connected to our own heart source. So for me, a powerful way of doing that is taking time every morning. I have a ritual. I have an altar that I set up where I keep sacred objects that I've collected from all over the world. I have my prayers and my invocations, some like shamanic exercises, and really just listening to my heart and what she wants for that day. Sometimes it's singing. Sometimes it's gazing at my own eyes in the mirror. Sometimes it's pulling oracle cards, reading poetry. It's like what moves you. And I believe that from that space, how we can be of service in the world becomes very natural and very obvious, because it's a heart resonance, right? But if we're not in our heart, if we're not anchored in our heart frequency, and we're tasting the taste of our own love and heart, we're not really I don't feel we're gonna be able to align with the right people and places and situations. But when you live from your heart, and when you live from what feels real and good and true for you, I'm noticing that I want to find a more practical way of saying that, and perhaps it's not possible right now. Living from a space of that closeness to your own soul, and knowing that you got everything you need in here. And when that's really true and anchored, seeing how the world around you, there's this natural interdependence. The right people can come and support that journey and make it more rich and more fruitful. And the right opportunities and work paths and career make it more rich and more fruitful, because they're an amplification of you, not you trying to find it, right? So some of my insights and sharing some personal reflections coming through today, as I really devoted to my heart medicine, hugging myself and feeling, like literally feeling that energy expanding from my heart into my body, and then one of the most beautiful women I know on this planet, like, reached out, and we had this beautiful heart sharing for an hour, both of us, with leaving with takeaways and deeper integration of things that are happening in our lives. And I believe that's really what it is when you prioritize yourself and your self-love. And again, self-love is so amplified, right? It's like, and there are many ways, and of course self-love can be baths and chocolates, and I do that for sure, and that's definitely self-love. And sometimes it's feeling your own heart and giving yourself a hug, and like staying in that hug for 5-10 minutes, and crying if you need to, remembering that you are connected to life, that life isn't out to get you, that you got everything you need in here, that you're okay. And then from that space, notice what leaves your reality and comes into your reality. And sometimes listening to your heart's not an easy thing. My heart, many times over my lifetime, but many times over the last 2 years, has instructed me to make moves that crushed me and broke me down and destroyed everything I thought I was. And it was all still love. And sometimes she asked me to do things that sometimes a scared little girl in me is like, I don't know if I can do that. Even if that's an honoring of love, I don't know if I can do that. But then with her on my side and I do what feels right, alignment happens. These things come into my reality that were kind of being held back, waiting for me to align with my heart, and then they could come in almost instantly. It's wild, almost instantly. So what's your heart asking of you? What does your love taste like? Are you taking time to love yourself? Truly feel your love, like when you're gazing in the eyes of your beloved, or if you don't have a beloved, when you have had a beloved, right? Because the beloved is just a reflection. It's a representation of wanting to share in love and connection. That feeling of like, I love this person, right? That feeling, it's like top of the chest kind of thing. Maybe that's for me, that's where I feel it, and like deep in the root and top of the chest, this like channel of energy. What takes you there with yourself? Could you devote to moments of that every morning before jumping into service? Because it will have a natural way of realigning your life, of making the shifts, of removing the things that are blocking your heart flow, people, places, things, and aligning you with people, places, and things that are going to support the timeline that's wanting to open for you. So I hope that you got something from this. Please let me know if you did. Another free-flowing video. I also notice now the camera's quite blurry. And now I just made a glare, but it's like I'm in a light. Alright, I'm gonna cut it here, and I'd love to hear your thoughts below. And if you want to share, tell me, what does your love taste like for you? What colors, what scents, what flavors, what herbs, what textures, what spices, what type of weather? And it could change, but what feels alive? And what are some ways that you could really it's like I'm eating light. What ways could you devote to that and pour that onto yourself and stew in it and bathe in it? Okay, lots of love, fam.